And apparently poor Christian Cage is once again serving as the American spokesperson for Dino Douche, Jungle Boy, and Dwarf Dongsucker. So
he's their translator. He's their Alex.
Again, we have faith in Punk, but here's Christian Cage, who's another major star that came back after 7 years away from the business and was going to outwork everybody, and now he's the English language translator for a dinosaur. But anyway, as we mentioned, they're going to have a tag team tournament of a bunch of teams, and the winner of that tournament gets a tag team title shot with the Young Bucks at the pay-per-view in a cage match. And so the first one of these, apparently one of these, is Jungle Boy and Dino Douche against, since Private Party is now with Matt Hardy, can we call him the team of Party Hardy?
I'd prefer if we had Private Hardy and he was off TV.
Okay, well, how about the team of Hardy's privates?
Oh, no.
You remember that? Bob Caudle actually said that on Mid-Atlantic Wrestling when Sergeant Slaughter had Private Don Kernodle and Private Jim Nelson. He said, well, now you take a good look at Sergeant Slaughter's privates. Anyway, when I saw this match, I'm thinking, we just said on the Experience podcast we just did, we were talking about the NWA voted one time at Luthez' behest that the NWA World Heavyweight Champion not have to appear on shows with girls, midgets, or wrestling bears because it was demeaning to the championship. I'm wondering if, since Thez wouldn't work with girls or midgets or bears, if Punk should refuse to work on shows with Dwarf Dongsucker on them.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Well, I'm just wondering.
I like Punk, but he's joined the circus, and until the circus is cleaned out, he's going to be around some of the other circus freaks.
Well, but that doesn't mean he has to go into the fucking monkey cage and get a good whiff of the shit. Anyway, so in this match, the Hardley Boys were out to watch. They had their own stools with their stooges making over them. They put the Lucha Brothers and the Varsity Blondes at the crowd. Or the Varsity Browns.
That's Jerry Lawler's favorite team, I think.
Bobby Eaton and Orville Hutto were the Brown Bombers. He told me one time in a car, he said somebody suggested to him that they make their outfits brown and yellow and go as a drizzling shits. But anyway, and again, Jungle Boy is such a good talent when he wrestles. Remember, every time he has a wrestling match, I always praise him. We always enjoy it. He's got an underdog appeal, and he's a talented athlete, even he can't speak in public to save his life. But when he has a wrestling match, he's good. But every time he's in there with his goofy partner and some of these other opponents, it devolves into a far-fetched gymnastics routine. And, I mean, these guys are better gymnasts than some of the other guys on their roster, so they did it well. But it was still phony as a football bat because it's just ridiculous. And they went through a break. Private Party now, they were one of the multiple teams wearing takeoff basketball outfits. And now, for a while, they were wearing clothes like they were going to the club. And now their street clothes look like they're valet parking attendants. They have some type of insignia on I don't know what do they look odd to you or awkward dressed in street clothes as a tag team doing all that shit?
I think there's a nice discussion about the way they've bungled things with Private Party. Remember, Private Party, I think, were the first or one of the first teams to win over the Young Bucks on TV. Yes. And everyone thought they were being elevated. And Mark Quinn, a world of talent. And the other guy, he ain't that bad either. But his name's the other guy. But Mark Quinn has a world of talent. And since that time, they've done nothing with him. And then they put him with Matt Hardy's Jobber Crew. And anyone who's in that isn't going to be over, and no one's going to care about him no matter what. Those guys are talented. As soon as they walk out on that stage with Matt Hardy, it takes them down. They need to get them away from Matt Hardy, get them off TV for a while, or keep them just on YouTube and refresh them because they are talented. And they've been there now 2 years. Have they done anything since they beat the Young Bucks? No.
Well, no, and remember we described that finish that the Young Bucks perpetrated on them, where it was a complete fluke that Private Party won the match after the Cucamonga kids had foiled all of their shit. Anyway, and I'm sure they pled ignorance as far as the psychology of it. But the point is, and Mark Quinn could be a major baby face, an underdog, smaller baby face that you could use like Jungle Boy at top with his athletic ability if you calmed him down and gave him some serious training and focused.
Remember I said earlier during the Punk review that, I saw the next segment and I put up on Twitter, and then it turned back into AEW.
Yeah.
And some people got upset, but a lot of people agreed with me. This was part of the issue. Like, everyone was watching for Punk. No one cared about anything else on that show, either in the building or at home. Let's be honest. I would have put something completely different on here. I would have put something at another pace. Just to throw two teams out there, and this isn't what they would have done because of what they have going on. I would have put the Varsity Blondes in 2.0. Two teams that are going to get maybe a little bit of a reaction and have a chance to win over the room while the announcers have 6 minutes to talk about nothing but CM Punk.
There you go.
And they didn't. And instead they went right to the Young Bucks comedy tag team division. And I don't need to see any of this. I hate it.
And that used to be what Kevin Sullivan would say when we were writing a TV format. Put a match in there because we just shot this major angle. The announcers have time to react to it, flesh out, extrapolate. Everybody breathes a little bit instead of, here we go. But anyway,
it should have been the topic on commentary throughout the whole show. There should have been nothing to take away from CM Punk. No matches, no angles, maybe promos, but that's it. It should have been all about Punk. And I thought this was a misstep. Again, I'm not a big fan of this overall, the Young Bucks tag team division, but I wouldn't have put this after Punk and then just completely moved to talking about tag teams instead of CM Punk.
Well, and also this match, real quickly, because I started trying to jot down notes. They got a pretty long heat on Jungle Boy, and suddenly he just gave Dino a cold tag. He's laying there about 5 feet from him and just reached up and tagged him. There was nobody trying to stop him. And I will say Dino's comeback didn't suck as bad as usual because he stayed away from the awkward kicks. He actually hit a couple of fucking moves on people. But then Jungle Boy tried to do the superplex that he tried to do before and he almost killed somebody else, where they get on the top rope and then he tries to stand on Dino's shoulders and superplex one of the Private Party guys off of the shoulders. But instead, Private Party gave him a Canadian Destroyer off the top of the guy's shoulders into the middle of the ring, a 2 count, and Dino made the save.
And the other thing is, they were waiting so long that he is just on Luchasaurus' shoulders for such a long time that while the guy's setting up, it was ridiculous. Don't do the spot if it takes that.
That's the point. They will not just say, okay, this would be a great idea if we could perform it correctly or convincingly, but they leave that part out. And so they all stood there. It took forever. It looked rotten. They had to balance and wait. And then the fucking save, and then they go on. And then Mark Quinn, I said, needs to be calmed down and focused and trained, did a a springboard shooting star press off the top rope out onto toward Dino on the floor and completely missed him, and Dino fell anyway. The only reason, at least it was a shooting star, because Quinn landed mostly on his feet. It wasn't his head because of the way you do that move anyway. But he missed the fucking guy, where the announcers had to say, well, excrement called it. Then JR jumped in and said, I don't think he got all of it. And then they spent 2 minutes talking about glancing blows at that speed having more power. I don't know. And then suddenly Matt Hardy flung the dwarf to the floor, and they did a ridiculous series of moves that you couldn't really describe and beat Mark Quinn. And there that was.